Ever find yourself flipping through those high-end real estate brochures, the ones with the impossibly perfect photos?
Oh, yeah. You mean the ones that make you feel like you need to win a lottery just to look at them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, get ready to decode because today we're diving into that world.
Should I put on my monocle and top hat?
Only if it helps you decipher marketing jargon, because we're dissecting the Palma Miami Beach Residences.
Sounds fancy.
Oh, it's dripping in luxury. From the name itself to the tagline, a new era of Miami Beach, we're talking. Oceanfront views, sleek architecture, and yes, a price tag that's probably more zeros than most of us see in a year.
Okay, you've piqued my interest. Where are we starting this luxurious deep dive?
They hit you with the glam right away. We're talking website, that glossy brochure, even what seems like an investor presentation, the works.
So they're casting a wide net, aiming to reel in anyone with a dream and a hefty bank account.
It's like they're saying, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. But they're also not so subtly implying that maybe, just maybe, you could be part of this exclusive world.
I see, the classic aspirational but unattainable marketing tactic.
Exactly. They even call their target market a privileged few right in the brochure.
Well, that tells you everything you need to know right there, doesn't it?
Pretty much. And it's fascinating how they hammer home that message of exclusivity right from the jump. Every other phrase is architectural icon, boutique residence, Mediterranean sanctuary.
He's even named the place Palma. Like, come on, how much more on the nose can you get?
Right. It's like they called up a luxury real estate cliche generator and just went to town.
But cliché or not, it works. These terms are like little shortcuts to a certain lifestyle, a certain image.
It's like luxury branding 101. Whether we're talking about real estate, handbags, or even cars, it's all about tapping into that same desire for scarcity, prestige, the feeling that you're buying into something truly exceptional.
And that's what makes people willing to shell out a small fortune for something that, at its core, is really not that different from a less expensive alternative.
Okay, so they've established themselves as the epitome of luxury and exclusivity, but how do they actually sell you on buying into this dream?
Well, they've got to give you a taste of the good life.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
Let's talk amenities, or should I say, the Palma Miami Beach experience. We're talking direct beach access, high-end shopping, world-class dining, you name it, they've got it.
Sounds pretty standard for a luxury development. What makes Palma so special?
Hold on to your hats, because they take it to a whole other level. For example, they've got on-demand food service at their exclusive beach club.
Wait, what? You're telling me someone will bring me a perfectly chilled glass of champagne while I'm lounging by the ocean?
Only if you're one of the lucky few who can afford it.
Okay, now that's just showing off. But it's brilliant from a marketing perspective.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about the convenience. It's about cultivating that image of effortless luxury, of having your every whim catered to.
Exactly. They're not just selling you an apartment. They're selling you a lifestyle, a membership to a very exclusive club. And for a certain type of buyer, that's incredibly appealing.
So it's not just about the physical space. It's about buying into a social sphere, a world where everything is tailored to your desires.
Precisely. But, it's interesting. They're not just relying on the allure of luxury and convenience. They're also playing the investment angle pretty hard.
You picked up on that, huh? Yeah, it's subtle, but it's there. Scattered throughout these materials are these little hints about Miami Beach's booming real estate market, the potential for rental income.
They even throw in a statistic about the average income of Miami Beach visitors.
Yeah.
Just in case you need a little extra reassurance that this is a sound investment.
Right, which begs the question, who are they really targeting here? Someone looking for a peaceful retreat, a savvy investor, or maybe both?
It's like they're trying to have it both ways, appealing to multiple audiences at once. And honestly, that's a smart move.
Oh, absolutely. It broadens their appeal without alienating anyone. But it also makes you wonder, can Palma really be all things to all people? Or are they trying to have their luxury cake and eat it too?
That's a dangerous game they're playing. Because at some point, they're going to have to address the elephant in the room. The potential conflict between marketing this as a peaceful oasis and a lucrative investment opportunity.
Especially when you consider the potential impact on the surrounding community.
Right. But before we dive into that rabbit hole, I want to circle back something you mentioned earlier, the history of Miami Beach.
Oh, yeah. They actually dedicate a whole section of the brochure to it, tracing its evolution from a humble coconut farm to a global destination.
It's a fascinating story, one that's full of glamour, reinvention, and a healthy dose of ambition. And architecturally, Miami Beach has gone through these incredible transformations.
Absolutely. Think about it. From the Art Deco movement of the 1920s and 30s to the sleek modernism of today, it's a city that's constantly evolving.
And developments like Palma are writing the next chapter in that story, whether we like it or not.
Speaking of writing chapters, did you catch that part about the massive revitalization project happening nearby, the one with the new town center and everything?
Oh yeah, they really played that up. It's like they're trying to position Palma as this catalyst for positive change in the area.
Right. Buy a piece of paradise and help us revitalize the entire neighborhood. It's a compelling narrative, I'll give them that.
It's a classic marketing move, aligning themselves with this larger story of progress and transformation.
But it also raises some important questions, like revitalization for whom? And at what cost?
Exactly. Are these changes truly benefiting the existing community? Or are they primarily geared toward attracting a wealthier, often transient demographic?
It's like we're peeling back the layers of a very luxurious onion. And with every layer, we uncover more questions than answers.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We're not just looking at buildings and beaches, we're getting a glimpse into a very particular mindset, a way of seeing the world that's both alluring and a little unsettling.
And it all starts with a simple question. Is luxury ultimately about place or status?
Or is it something else entirely?
A dangerous cocktail of both, perhaps.
Only one way to find out. Keep digging.
That reminds me, we were going to dissect that whole sustainability angle, or should I say the lack thereof.
Yeah, it's like they're speaking a different language, a language where carbon footprint is a foreign phrase.
You'd think with a beachfront property, they'd at least try to make some noise about being eco-friendly, even if it's just for good PR.
Right. It's like they're going out of their way to avoid the topic altogether, which makes you wonder what they're trying to hide.
Or maybe for their target demographic, sustainability is so last year.
You think.
Right.
Like if you're dropping millions on a condo, worrying about your impact on the planet is so pedestrian.
It's like, darling, I've earned the right to ignore climate change. Please fetch my diamond-encrusted reusable water bottle.
Okay, that's a bit harsh, but you're not wrong. It's like they're selling a fantasy where those pesky real-world problems don't exist.
And maybe that's part of the appeal, right? They're creating this exclusive bubble where sustainability is a non-issue because, frankly, their clients are used to getting whatever they want. Consequences be damned.
It's a bit of a head-scratcher, though. You'd think even the ultra-wealthy would be concerned about things like rising sea levels, especially when your multi-million-dollar investment is right on the water.
Unless, of course, they plan to hire a team of engineers to build a climate-controlled dome around Palma. But hey, I'm sure they've thought of that.
Probably. But you know what else struck me as odd? The way they tiptoed around any mention of the actual community around Palma.
You're right. It's all very vague, like they're intentionally trying to create this sense of mystery or maybe even distance.
It's like they're saying, come live in our luxurious bubble, far away from the hustle and bustle of Consequently. Well, everything.
Which, again, might be part of the appeal for a certain buyer, but it does make you wonder about the potential consequences of that kind of isolation.
Exactly. If enough luxury developments take that approach, do they end up creating these little islands of affluence that are completely detached from the social and economic realities of the surrounding area?
And is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a question for the ages.
It really is. But you know, speaking of questions for the ages, did you catch that disclaimer at the end of the investor presentation? The one where they practically trip over themselves to distance themselves from Lefferts.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. It's like they're trying to have their luxury cake and eat it, too.
It's like they're saying, we're happy to align ourselves with this big-name developer to boost our credibility, but if anything goes wrong, don't come crying to us.
Which, honestly, just makes me even more curious about what they're not telling us.
Right. It's like, what are you so afraid of?
Maybe that's a question for our next deep dive. The unspoken truths of luxury real estate marketing.
I'd sign up for that webinar. But for now, let's get back to Palma, because there's still a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Like that whole revitalization project they keep mentioning, is it a genuine attempt to improve the community or just a clever marketing ploy?
And how does it all tie back to the central question of what luxury even means in the 21st century?
Let's dive in and find out.
Feels like we've fallen down the rabbit hole of luxury real estate marketing, and let me tell you, things get pretty surreal down here.
We've got those impossibly perfect photos, the language that's dripping in exclusivity, those amenities that would make even a king jealous.
But then they hit you with this disclaimer, practically begging you not to sue if their fantasy bubble bursts.
It's a trip, man. And we haven't even gotten to the part where they try to convince us they're single-handedly saving the neighborhood.
Oh, you mean that whole revitalization project they keep bringing up? It's like they want a medal for potentially increasing property values.
Buy a Palma residence and watch your investment soar as we gentrify the entire zip code.
Yeah, that's not tone deaf at all.
Okay, maybe that's a bit harsh. But it does make you wonder about their true motives.
Right. Are they genuinely invested in making the community better for everyone, or are they just really good at spinning a narrative that benefits their bottom line?
It's like they're speaking a language that's a weird mix of philanthropy and profit margins, and honestly, it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins.
That's the thing about luxury marketing, though. They're selling a fantasy, and they're not about to let something as trivial as reality get in the way of that.
Which brings us back to that question we keep circling around.
Mm-hmm.
What even is luxury in this day and age?
Is it about having so much money that you can afford to ignore the problems of the world?
Or is it about creating your own little utopia, even if it comes at the expense of everything else?
It's a tough one. And honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe luxury is less about a specific place or thing and more about a mindset, a way of seeing yourself in relation to the world.
And maybe, just maybe, that's something worth examining a little more closely.
Well said. We started with a stack of glossy brochures, and we ended up somewhere pretty deep. So, to our listeners, we leave you with this. What does luxury mean to you? Let us know, because we're dying to know. Until next time.